Imagine you've just been invited to one of the most exclusive dinner parties in Florence. The host? One of the most powerful families in Italy. The guest list? 80 of the wealthiest, most influential nobles, bankers, and church officials in the Renaissance world. The food? Exquisite. The wine? Endless. The music? Perfect. Now imagine that halfway through the meal, you hear the massive wooden doors of the palace slam shut. Bolts slide into place, you're locked inside. And then you see the host smile. Not a warm smile, but the smile of a man who has just trapped 80 rats in a cage. To understand why 80 people walked into a dinner party and never walked out, you need to understand Florence in the 1470s. Florence wasn't just a city, it was a power keg. On one side, the Medici. You've heard of them. Lorenzo de Medici, known to history as Lorenzo the Magnificent. Patron of artists, master of banking, ruler of Florence, handsome, charismatic, brilliant. His younger brother, Giuliano, the beautiful one, the favorite of Florence, beloved by all. On the other side, the Pazzi. Francesco de Pazzi, the hot-headed violent heart of the family. Girolamo Riario, the Pope's nephew, ambitious and ruthless. Archbishop Francesco Salviati, a man of God with the soul of an assassin. The Pazzi were also bankers, also wealthy, also powerful. But in Florence, there could only be one family at the top. For years, the Pazzi watched as the Medici to take everything. The best commissions, political appointments, papal contracts. They were rich, but they weren't in charge, and that resentment doesn't fade. It festers. Then in 1474, something pushed the Pazzi from resentment into war. Pope Sixtus IV, yes, the one who built the Sixtine Chapel, wanted to buy a town called Imola. Strategically vital, Lorenzo said no, refused to finance it. So the Pope turned to the Pazzi Bank. Overnight, the Pazzi became the Pope's bankers. Now they had money, papal backing, and a reason to want Lorenzo dead. They went to the Pope himself, Sixtus IV, the Vicar of Christ, and they laid out their plan to murder Lorenzo and Giuliano during the High Mass in the Cathedral. The Pope's response? He said, and this is documented, that as Pope he could not officially sanction killing. But then he looked at them and said, I would take it as a great benefit if the Medici were removed. Do what you must. I will support you however I can. That's not a no, that's a yes with a wink. They have palpable approval, money, 600 soldiers waiting outside the city, led by the Duke of Urbino, ready to march the moment the Medici fell. Now, all they needed was the right moment to strike. The original plan was a dinner party. A young cardinal was visiting Florence. The Medici hosted a banquet at their villa. The conspirators thought, perfect. Poison both brothers, done. Clean, easy. But there was a problem. Giuliano didn't show up. He was feeling unwell and stayed home. You can't poison someone who isn't there. The conspirators scrambled. They had soldiers waiting. They had the Pope's blessing. And they realized, tomorrow is Easter Sunday. The Medici will attend Mass together at the Duomo. Plan B was about to begin. On Sunday, April 26, 1478, the Duomo was packed. Hundreds of Florentines filled the pews. Incense, choir. The priest raises the host. And in the crowd, men carry weapons hidden beneath their cloaks. Giuliano arrives late, still unwell. Francesco de Pazzi greets him with a warm embrace, checking in that hug for armor. He's not wearing any. Lorenzo is inside, standing with friends near the altar. The signal comes. The host is raised. Every head bows. And then, Bernardino Bandini lunges at Giuliano. Daggers come down once, twice, 3 times. Giuliano falls. Blood pools on marble. Francesco joins in, stabbing wildly, slashing his own leg. 2 priests grab Lorenzo. One swings at his throat. Lorenzo moves. The blade only grazes. He throws his cloak over his arm, draws a sword. Friends drag him toward the sacristy. Bronze door slams shut. In the darkness of the sacristy, Lorenzo is bleeding. He asks over and over, is my brother alive? Is Giuliano okay? No one answers, because they already know. Giuliano is dead on the cathedral floor, stabbed 19 times. The conspirators thought the city would rise with them. Archbishop Salviati led a group to seize the government palace. He walked in, demanded to speak with the council. But the Gonfaloniere, the city's standard bearer, knew something was wrong. He locked the doors. Salviati and his men were trapped. The guards threw them out the windows, hanging them while they were still alive. Jacopo de Pazzi rode into the square with armed men, shouting for the people to rise, but the crowd just stared at him. They left the Medici. What happened next wasn't justice. It wasn't execution. It was erasure. Francesco de Pazzi was dragged from his bed, naked, bleeding, and hung from the same window as Salviati. Their bodies swung together, rotting in the sun for all Florence to see. Jacopo was caught, beaten, tortured, and hung next to them. Then they buried him, dug him up, dragged his body across the streets, propped it outside his own palace, and children used his rotting head as a door knocker. Bernardino Bandini, Giuliano's actual killer, escaped to Constantinople. The Ottoman Sultan captured him and sent him back in chains. He was hung from the Bargello prison, still wearing Turkish clothes. 80 people died in the end. 80. But the Pazzi family suffered worse than death. The name Pazzi was erased, scrubbed from every public record. Every street renamed. Every coat of arms chiseled off every building. Anyone named Pazzi had to change their name. Anyone married to a Pazzi was banned from public office forever. In one day, the Pazzi family was annihilated, not just killed, unmade. And Lorenzo de Medici became more powerful than ever. Not because of money, not because of politics, but because the people of Florence had watched him bleed, and they chose him. The Medici would rule Florence for another 2 centuries. The Pazzi, they're a footnote, a cautionary tale. A story about what happens when you invite your enemies to dinner and they don't leave the way you expected.